we're back, and we are moving into our final conversation for today. Shifting gears entirely, we've been talking about the economy, about job opportunities, and now we just get to talk to two, I would imagine, very happy Belizeans who are now on Belizean soil. Of course, they were employed or are employed by cruise lines and had been sailing at sea for at least 2 months, and now they're back on soil, starting off their mandatory quarantine. We have with us Linda Blease and Ryan Bennett, isolated and separated at the Radisson in Belize City. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Well, it's great to see you guys. Can I just start off and say you're very happy to be home, I'd imagine.
Yeah, welcome back.
Of course, yes, we're very, very happy to be home. I'm very happy to set foot on land and, of course, familiar land, which is Belize. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's...
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, pretty much the same for me, just coming back home, to familiar grounds and friends and family. So it's good to be back.
So Ryan, let's get a bit of your experience since we caught up with Linda last week. Where were you in the time of the pandemic, and what was the process like for you?
Well, actually, both myself and Linda, we were both on the same ship.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually good. We had it was about 3 of us, 3 Belizeans on one of Celebrity Cruises' latest release, and so we had each other. We were able to kind of exchange information, keep contact, and I think that with the entire process, since the whole thing began, it was kind of like a holiday, a small holiday, meaning that we didn't have any guests on board. It's just about 1,000 crew or plus. We pretty much tried to entertain ourselves and to keep happy, to keep pep. But I think closer to the end, I believe, of that almost 2 months of just being out there, we were getting a little bit worried, simply because, if you don't have work, if you don't have guests, then, what's the point of being out there, So
Yeah.
it was actually good to actually hear news of us getting back home and learning of Royal Caribbean's repatriation or their grand repatriation plan. So I was doing well throughout the whole entire thing. I actually had company. I know a lot of other crew members did not have that luxury of having somebody next to them, and we just weathered it through. We just kept each other's spirits up, and I have to say, wow, what an experience! Something definitely to remember.
Well, the pandemic is going to bring us strange experiences all around, but yours is definitely going to be one of the most unique. Being
for sure, yes.
Sailing at sea without knowing when you'd be able to go home. Take me back. I can't imagine being outside of Belize in these strange surroundings and hearing or being notified that I
believe we lost audio there, I think.
Yeah,
okay.
I think we lost audio.
All right.
I think we're back.
We're back?
Okay,
You
we're
can hear
good.
me? Great. So I was just going to say, that feeling of knowing that you couldn't come home had to be a tough one. Take me back to that moment.
I can't really hear anything. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I
Okay.
can't hear
Okay.
anything either.
Can you hear?
Oh.
You want to take it over, Lucy?
All right. So can you hear me, Ryan? Okay, I think we're having a little bit of an audio issue. We're trying to get that resolved.
Let me check the connection here.
All right.
Okay, so let's
we're back.
All right, you got us now?
Great. So what I was saying is, I can't imagine what it felt like to be out at sea or anywhere as a Belizean and not being able to come home. That had to probably be the hardest time for you, not knowing when you'd be able to get back to land?
Yes, like I mentioned before, coming on to the end, almost I would say halfway through our entire trip, I believe we were out there for about 70 to 75 days. I think at that particular point, we started to, grow some concern, simply because we were so unsure. We were so, unsure of what's the next step. We were getting updates from the CDC and the company. They were delivering the information to us daily through the PA systems, and we had the information as it became available. But come on, imagine having 70 different nationalities on one ship, and that's 70 different governments that the company has to organize repatriation plans with, and Belize was just one of them. You know, luckily for us, I mean, we heard news that, you know, the Prime Minister did mention that he was considering taking all the Belizeans back in home, of course, under conditions. And we're pretty happy that the conditions were met by Royal Caribbean. So, yeah, it turned out well.
And, you know, and of course, the conditions were not only on the ship itself, but of course, when you did return, of course, there were some conditions imposed, obviously. The quarantine, so perhaps you can talk to us a little bit about what it's been like since you've actually landed back home now in sort of isolation.
You know, I think I'm gonna pass this one to Linda because I think she has some a little bit more of a colorful story to give on this.
More of a colorful story. Well, they had a lot of precautionary measures in place to keep the people that were coming to pick us up from the ship. So first of all, they made sure that us that were coming off the ship, our side from the ship side, made sure we had stuff like gloves, hand sanitizers, like face mask and all that stuff. Making sure the government of Belize actually asked, or immigration or whoever did, they asked for us to fog our luggage so as to disinfect it from any type of infection or anything, any disease or anything, germs or anything that may be attached to the luggage. Then we started to board the luggage. They did the entire process. I'm not sure when it comes to like the technical side, like I heard that, I think the captain came off and like signed something or something to that sort. I'm not sure, so.
Okay.
But I know that when it came to us getting on the tender, everybody been well equipped, like the Belizean authorities, they been well equipped. They had on their gloves and their facial gear and all that stuff, and made sure they social distance away from us. But besides all of that, they were very, 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 very welcoming, and they warm your heart on a little bit for like just come home and not feel like it was a burden for them to get us from off the ship.
Yeah.
And I agree, Linda. You know, I think that they executed a very, very well thought of plan in terms of getting us from ship side to shore side and then into the hotel, because we pretty much had all the officials that were supposed to be there that were relevant. Everybody from the customs and immigration to the health officials, to the hotel officials, and they were all pretty much very nice. You could tell that they were well groomed to the service industry, and they knew how to handle the situation. And even though it, of course, was a very new situation for them. So we just want to thank them as well if we didn't get a chance to do so before.
I also really admire the fact that they had the area blocked off from society from coming around too close to the area, because at the end of the day, regardless of us knowing our situation and all that stuff like that, at least they're doing precautionary measures to make sure society is safe and stays out of the quarantine area while, like I said, people under investigation are on their way to their quarantine facility.
Yeah. Now, I mean, that's kind of the protocol that was in place. But tell me how it felt. I mean, when you see that pilot boat pulling up towards that ship, you know a Belizean pilot's getting on board. That tender ship pulls up. You know you're finally going to be able to go home. What's the feeling like?
First of all, sorry, Ryan, I'm joining in right now. First of all, the day before, we had up in our cafeteria area, our buffet area, we had a cake that had Belize flag on it. And I don't know, I try not to be the most emotional person, but somehow it just hit home that you were close to home. Like, it is real. Like, it's been so many months, so many days, change of ships, all these extra new protocols that they're putting in place, all these restrictions, and being countries are changing laws and all this stuff. And it's you try to keep your vibes up, but still the information that's coming in and all the effects that the pandemic has had worldwide, of course it has to affect you. I mean, we're human. But I never really realized how much like the want to be home and how happy I was to be so close to home when I saw that cake and realized that we were close. And then the next day I woke up early in the morning and I could see the pilot thing. By the way, how na boss is in a boat. I see the pilot thing come past in the pilot boat, and I was like, oh man, look on my people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Linda, just to add to that, I think that it was a little bit nerve-wracking because remember that the trip actually started off at Coco Cay in the Bahamas, and then we pretty much had the plan to sail all the way down to Colombia. Their plans got canceled. Then Panama's plans got canceled. And then eventually the captain said, well, you know what? We're just going to go up to Costa Rica. We're going to drop them off first, and then we're going to go up to Belize. So, you know, every day was a day closer to home. So you could imagine when your turn actually came to win the lottery, so as to speak, and you're like, all right, finally. So seeing the tenders there and seeing the officials board, and then you know, it was like about an hour and a half or 2 hours, right, Linda? That it took before they decided that, guys, you guys are cleared. Let's go on the boat and let's get you guys briefed on the situation. So
nice.
I feel that just collectively one overwhelming feeling of relief and joy, and of course with a home. So no better place than home, right? But at Belize. So.
Of course, and you're at the Radisson too. So you kind of just walked off the pier. You continue seeing the sea. We're there. You're having a slow adjustment away from that sea view. But let me go back to something. You guys know that there were some people in society that were fearful of the repatriation efforts because they feel that people who come into the country may possibly bring COVID-19. So it's a really great opportunity to talk about what was the situation on the ship. You know, you guys were actually being monitored the entire time.
I think I'm going to take this one first. There's a difference in culture in regards to OPP, outbreak prevention plans, and just generally how the ship versus here on land are executing those plans. So for us, it was a very closely, tightly knitted situation. It was monitored very closely simply because, one, we had temperature checks twice. Whether you were walking around the ship or whether you were in the 14-day on-ship quarantine. So some of the folks probably don't know, we actually had a 14-day quarantine, just like the one we're doing here on the ship in the guest staterooms, where the situation was very, very similar. So we had temperature checks. We also had proper OPP equipment, such as gloves. Mask wearing on board in the space was definitely a must. You know, it was something that was mandatory. Yeah. And this happened every single day. This was every single day. Ship law versus land law is a little bit, ship law is a little bit more, I would say, a little bit more strict with the rules and the guidelines. And, you know, coming here, I think Linda and I both saw that things just relaxed a little bit from out of the window, you know, looking at society itself and how they operated. There were some people wearing masks. There were some people not wearing masks. And of course, others were just like, you know, just had a total disregard for the emergency plan, the national emergency plan. And we were looking at this from the windows at a daily basis. So yeah, so it's a little bit different for us.
Yeah, yeah. And so being quarantined at home, it's easier?
No, go ahead.
I personally feel that people need to understand one thing. Once you're placed into quarantine, stay in the closed space that you are. The reason why you are being quarantined is not for you to be in your room, then go walk out outside, then go to the shop down the corner, then invite your friends and over. You are trying to make sure in any case, if you come up with any symptoms of the pandemic, COVID-19 or whatever, at least it is contained in your environment, your enclosed environment. So when people ask me, can you go outside or can you go across the street, or no, even if no, that's not a question. We are supposed to stay majority of the percentage of the time inside our space, which is the room that we're provided.
Yeah.
Of course, we get feed outside and all that type of stuff, and we just go outside our door, pick up with food, and come right back in our I mean, as a cabin in a way.
A room.
Yeah, I know, right?
I make a mistake all the time too.
And as well, no turn down service. You do your own turn down service. It's the same as being
Which
on
means
board.
change your own sheets, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, but they drop it off for you.
Yeah.
Just same thing like on ships, and of course you clean your own room, which is the same like on ships.
Yeah.
Like on ships, we used to do every 2 days. We used to do towel change. So they would come. The person that comes has on gloves and all that PPE equipment, hands you the towels, and you take out your towels. They knock on your door. They say change the towels. You take it out. And then every 5 days, it's change of sheets. So you come knock on the door. They come knock on the door. You take off all your sheets. You spread your bed. You put out your garbage out of the door, and they pick it up, basically.
So you guys aren't allowed to leave the room at all?
No.
None at all.
Okay.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, because both of you guys look pretty nice, like you're going to be going out somewhere. You got
How you mean? We up on tour on TV?
Yep.
Right. Those are the territory, right?
And you get your Belizean food now?
Of course.
What we get rice and beans from the first day we got here. That was actually one of the, well, apart from Ali, Belizean style fried chicken, rice and beans was on the list, was on the top of the list for me. And they actually gave us that on the first day, and I'm like, yes, this is home. The true taste of being back in Belize.
That's a real welcome home.
And do you guys have any, something like on your wish list or something you can't wait to do once you actually get out of quarantine?
I think what's going to happen for me is I'm going to spend most of the time with family and friends, and then eventually I'm going to see how I could make myself a little bit more busier, whether that means doing some work from online or, or doing a little bit of traveling. Because for us being at home, usually how the norm is that it's the 2 months vacation and about 6 to 7 months on the ship. So for our 2 months being at home, we would usually use that as a vacation. So I think I'm going to do a little bit more traveling, go up to the west, go down south, just basically try to make myself busy. So
yeah. And for you, Linda?
Me personally, I just can't wait for get out of here, go see my family, go home, my apartment, do me here, because right now I have just, I want to spend as much time. I don't kind of want homebody. So one side at home in my own comfort, I'm pretty much good.
Yeah. And has there been any indication as to the future of your jobs?
Well, so far, we're not really sure, to be honest. I think that we're actually in the same situation as most people in the world. Yeah. We do know that the company had laid off quite a few hundred employees from the shore side employment, but there hasn't been any actual decisions made to cut staff itself. But still, I mean, before we left Celebrity Cruises, of course, which is the luxury brand of Royal, they had ensured us that almost they would say that every employee leaving the ship would have a letter of employment for return. So they had ensured that to us. I mean, as to where we stand with that, we're just getting the news just like everybody else. So
yeah, okay, all right. Anything you want to say? Your family is watching. They haven't seen you for months. They still can't see you yet. Your friends and of course to the rest of the Belize.
Yeah. So for the remainder of the time that we're under the national emergency situation, I would just say, guys, just follow the rules. They're set in place, for our safety. I know that sometimes it's hard because, you get carried away. You might forget your mask, or you might forget that it's curfew time. I would just say, just keep in mind that the rules are here just to protect us for this moment. And then, of course, hopefully, the people, the government itself will come up with a solution to get the economy back running and to open up at least the airport so that we could have at least tourism and some additional industries going as well. So things will take time. I think that everybody just needs to have a little bit of patience and to keep following the rules. Gloves, mask at all time until this thing settles down, which should be in a few more months.
All right. And parting shot for you, Linda?
Well, he basically said the part when it comes to all the formal parts, but I just want to say hello to my peoples there out the Kikaka. Shout out my Kikaka people. I know they like watch morning show. You know that I don't know with them, Marlene. As well, my beautiful Belizeans. I'm gonna keep safe out there, and please trust me. The precautionary measures are there to create a pattern for you. So not try to fight it, just continue. When we come out of quarantine, because we're gonna come out of quarantine in like a week and a half or something, right, Ryan? And yes. When we come out of quarantine, we will for sure follow all the measures then that they're in place for try and as well keep safe. So take care of yourself. Remember, they're not teach you your body that your temple for nothing.
Okay. And that this is day 5, so what you have 10 more days to go?
Yeah.
All right. Well, best of luck. Stay safe, stay sane, and welcome home.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. And there you have it. They're in great spirits. I could only, I can't imagine what it would be like to finally be able to be home, taste some good rice and beans.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's great to hear from them. And I love that I hear how serious or how much they understand the measures that are in place and following through with them.
No, absolutely. That's really heartening to hear.
Yeah.
It's great to have them back and great to see that they're spreading and that they're trying to, keep the word alive, keep the awareness alive about all we need to do to successfully manage the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's right.